Tomorrow marks the official start to the hurricane season in the Gulf of Mexico, and hurricanes will become an important part of the cleanup and containment equation. On Wednesday, a new effort is scheduled to begin to stem that massive oil leak. Robotic submarines will again try to place a cap-like containment valve over the blowout preventer. BP hopes to capture the oil and then send it to recovery ships on the surface. Meantime, legislation is being prepared to try to repeal an old law that could keep the owner of the drilling rig, Transocean, from having to pay for the cleanup costs.
Transocean owned the rig, BP leased the rig, and they're each going to be playing a game of pointing the finger at one another. So if Transocean's off the hook, the taxpayers, the industries that were hurt, the communities that were hurt could be in real trouble.
It has been 42 days now since the explosion on board the drilling rig triggered the leak and killed 11 workers. Officials say the well has now spilled anywhere between 20 and 43 million gallons of crude. That's far more than the 11 million gallons dumped by the 1989 Exxon Valdez disaster in Alaska.
Tomorrow, Attorney General Eric Holder plans to meet with federal prosecutors and state attorneys general from the Gulf Coast states. The Justice Department is now expected to investigate the explosion on the Deepwater Horizon oil rig. And in San Francisco this evening, a small but colorful bike protest made its way up Market Street. The demonstrators are calling for a boycott of BP. The Port of San Francisco has sent 5,000 feet of containment boom to Louisiana to help with the cleanup. BP is reportedly getting boom from wherever it can. The governor of Louisiana estimates 760,000 feet of boom could be needed along the Louisiana coast alone. But booms do have limitations. They can easily be broken or breached in choppy seas and strong winds. When the Costco Busan spilled fuel back in 2007, one cleanup expert said it was the current, or rather, if the current was greater than 1 knot, the booms used in San Francisco Bay would tip, and the oil would either go over or under the booms.
Getting bumped from flights that are oversold could be getting better for those who are bumped. Transportation officials are expected to raise the maximum amount airlines must pay passengers. Right now, it's between $400 and $800, depending on how long the flight is delayed. How much more the airlines would have to pay isn't clear yet. The chances of getting bumped these days are greater because airlines have reduced the number of flights.
In News of the World tonight, in Britain, the on-again, off-again strike by British Airways cabin crews was on again today. Their strike is expected to last for 5 days, and union leaders said work stoppages would continue through the summer if there is no deal. The airline is calling on the union to allow a vote on the company's offer, which it says the rank and file would accept. In China, Honda said a strike against one of its plants is ending today after workers accepted a 24% raise. That brings their wages to $226 a month. Some workers said their pay wasn't enough to live on, though. Strikes in China are rare, but recently there have been several labor disputes at foreign companies whose workers have demanded better pay and conditions. And in Canada, the smoke from wildfires in the province of Quebec is affecting life to the east and south all the way to New England. New Hampshire officials warn people sensitive to smoke to stay indoors. Some 50 wildfires are burning north of Montreal. One of the worst has led to the evacuation of an entire village of indigenous people.
The Monterey County Sheriff's Office is alerting people to watch out for a man who's been impersonating a police officer. Authorities say the man pulled over an off-duty sheriff's deputy Friday night near Salinas and then asked that deputy if he'd been drinking. The Sheriff's Department says when the deputy identified himself and showed that he was armed, the bogus officer went back to his car and drove away.
Right after the break, while some people took today off, others were hard at work getting the word out about next week's election. Find out what they were saying.
And meteorologist Mark Tamayo is monitoring the workweek forecast. He's back in just a few minutes.